Okay, well, good morning, 7th graders. I hope you are doing well. Today, we are on Chapter 11 review, and this is part 1. Okay, so we are on page 516. Again, I'm going to go over some of the answers on some of these, so I would have your notes handy, so you will have them down in advance. We're going to do 2 days review, and then we'll start the test, and then we'll be done. So you guys are so close to being done with 7th grade math. You guys have done awesome this year, especially with the adjustments that we had to make with the coronavirus. So well done. So hang in there. This is the last review beginning, and then tomorrow will be the last review, and then the test. So one of the things that this lesson starts with is just a number line, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, right, and -7. So they tell us plot 2. You just come to 2 and put a dot. If they tell us to plot -4, okay, these are just color coordinated, I put a plot there. If they say -5, right there, right? If they say 5, right there, okay? So that's really easy. You guys can all do that. I know that. That's the beginning ones, so that one's in the bag. That's the easiest part of the homework. You'll nail that on a number line. Then, when we're comparing, right, let's say we have -4 compared to -2. Remember that -2 here is greater. Why is it greater? Because it's closer to 0. So when they're both negative, negative and negative, we want the one that's closer to 0 is actually bigger. Okay, so it's a little reverse psychology. The negative, the smaller the number on a negative is actually, it's worth more in value. It's bigger. So if we had, this would be easy, right? -4 compared to 5, you'd be like, obviously, this one's negative, this one's positive, so yeah, it's greater. But if we have one like this, -2, -8, right? The temptation is to say, wait, 8 is bigger. But remember, when they both have a negative, we want the smaller one, the one that's closer to 0. So the -2 is greater than the -8. Okay, always remember that smaller is actually better. And then if they give you a list, right, to order, like 0, -1, -4, 1, and 3, right? All you do is you take the biggest negative, which is -4, then the next biggest negative, -1, then 0, then 1, then 3, right? If you're going to put them in order, all you did super well on that on the homework, so it's just going to be the same thing on the review. Okay, not too bad. You guys got this part. That's the easy part. Then we got absolute values, right? If we have the absolute value of -15, that just equals 15. If we have the absolute value of 15 and it's positive, sorry for that terrible 5 there, then it's still just 15, right? If it's positive, it just stays positive. If it's negative, it becomes positive. Okay, so it's the distance from 0, so it becomes a positive number. Now, this is where it gets harder, is when we're using that in an equation, right? If we have 4 times 15, sorry, -15 plus 6. I do what's in here first. I always do absolute value first. So I have 4 times, that becomes positive 15 plus 6. 4 times 15, right? If I come over here, I get 60. So I get 60 from this, and then I have this plus 6, plus 6. The answer would be 66, okay? So that's just order of operation stuff. Basically reviewing everything that we've gone over before. That's really not too bad. Let's do one. This is number 14. So if you want your freebie, here's number 14. So we have 19 minus absolute value of 4 times 3 plus 5. Okay, remember, I do what's in absolute value first. So the 19 and minus stay. Then I have the absolute value of what's 4 times 3, that's 12, and the plus 5 stays. What's the absolute value of 12? Well, that's still 12. So now I just have that, and I just do 19 minus 12, which is 7 plus 5. And what's 7 plus 5? Back to 12. So 7 plus 5 is 12. So my final answer is 12. There's your free homework one of the day. Okay, now we are going to move on to adding and subtracting negative numbers. So this was one that was probably the harder part of our lesson for sure. So if we have -8 plus -6, if you remember how I taught you how to do this, you just take the positive and negative and they become one giant negative sign. You have negative 8 minus 6. And then our rule, when we have the same signs, we always add. And so we add these two numbers, the 8 and 6. And that gets us 14. But then we remember that we've had two negatives. So those two negatives come right here. And we have the final answer, which is negative 14. So if you're doing the homework, that's number 15. Okay, so there's a free one. So let's keep going here. What if they did negative 4 minus a negative 10? So we have this negative 4 here, and it is subtracted. Remember, we have a minus minus, that becomes a plus. So we have negative 4 plus 10 is how we rewrite that. Now, remember the rule. If we have one negative and one positive, what do we always do? That rule is we always subtract, no matter what order, which one's bigger, anything, we always subtract. So I come over here and do 10 minus 4, which is 6. Then I look and say the minus 4, that's smaller than the 10, so it's going to be positive. So the answer is just 6. Okay, and then if I do a more complicated one, so this is your last homework problem, so if you want to do this one here, and then our video will be done, or actually not quite done. What if we have negative 19 plus 19? You all can do something like that, right? That's 0, right? If the same number with a different sign, we do 19 minus 19, which is 0. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Just in case you forgot. Then, this is our last one here, 22. Negative 8 plus 7. Sorry, plus a minus 7. Big difference. Plus a minus 7 minus 4. Remember what I said, when you have a plus or minus, that becomes one big minus. And so now we're just looking at negative 8 minus 7. Negative 8 minus 7. What do we do? The same sign, we always add. So we get 8 plus 7, which is 15. What sign do they both have? They both have a negative, so it is a negative 15. So now I rewrite that. Come down here, insert him. Negative 15 plus 4. Now what do we have? A positive and a negative. What do? We always subtract because the signs are different. So we do 15 minus 4, which is 11. Which one has the negative? The 15, and the 15 is bigger than the 4. So our answer then is negative 11, and we are done with that one. Okay? So, oh, I'm sorry. Oop, just kidding. Don't look at this. If anybody caught what I did wrong, you can see what happened. That right there was not a minus. I'm sorry, that right there was not a plus 4. It was a minus 4. So instead of subtracting, what do we actually need to do? We needed to add. See, this sign right here, I messed up on carrying down. So it shows you that anybody can mess up on making these, right? So you have 15. Now, when you have those, you add, and you get 19. And then what were they? They're both negatives. So you get negative 19. So hopefully you watched the video long enough to know it's actually negative 19 is the real answer, not negative 11. Why? Because this sign got carried down, and I carried it down incorrectly the first time. So just a reminder, Mr. H makes mistakes too. So that's okay. Just remember that when you have the same sign, whether it's negative, negative, you add, and then as I did it and wrote it wrong, you subtract if they're different, okay? So the homework today, this is on page 516, and this is review. This is chapter 11 review. We are doing 1 through 22 all, and I did 3 or 4 of those, I think at least 3. So this should not be too hard. This is pretty straightforward. So you guys are almost done. Hang in there. Mr. H is over and out.